welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. We're back. Of course, a few of us are back from the Super Bowl, right, Mr. Ellis? Right, Miss Candy?
Yep.
Yes.
I got a tired Mr. Ellis. What did a 62-year-old man wear you out? Seriously? Really? Come on, seriously, really? Ellis, get going here.
I'm good.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. I got some topics that'll liven you up. Anyway, glad to have the group back. Pensman Forrest, welcome back, Mr. Pensman.
Thank you, and welcome back of coming back to up north or down south, wherever you are.
I don't know what we call it. All I know is the food was good, and Pat O'Brien's is even better. And Candy's there with us as well. We got a big show lined up. Talking some basketball, we're talking some Super Bowl. Everybody's going to get an opinion, a parting shot. We're going to put it all on there. With that said, also I want to have a programming note while I have it at the top of the hour, and that Saturday will be the External Bum Show. Will be hosted by myself and Ralph Williams, and it will be rebranded to Sports Wrap. That'll be at 9 to 10 o'clock p.m. 9 to 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time in RW Productions. So once again, RW Productions, Ralph Williams and I will be hosting Sports Wrap. We replaced the external bum part because we didn't like all the negativity surrounding the name. We just want to rap, talk sports, educate, and inform. Get that out there early. All right, well, we're going to talk, as the title of the show indicates, the Miami Heat are better off without Jimmy Butler. Eric Spoelstra said he enjoyed coaching when Jimmy was out for the last 6 weeks. Do you believe that, JB Ellis?
No, nobody ever likes losing one of the better players on the team. Everyone's saying what they have to say for PR reasons. For whatever reason, Jimmy Butler is just someone that doesn't seem to get along with teams after a certain amount of time. But nobody likes to lose one of their better players. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay. Pensman?
He is going to do the same thing that he did in Miami. He's going to do the same thing he did in Philadelphia. Right now, this Golden State thing's like a honeymoon. Everything's good and dandy. But when you get your feet wet, we'll see what Jimmy Butler does. He's going to get suspended. And that is what's going to happen. Miami's probably happier because they don't have to worry about him. So that's my take.
Candy?
Jimmy Butler has had a good career. He has been a solid player. He's been a leader on some of the teams, and he's taken, with that title, you get some of the good and some of the bad. And so sometimes, you can handle it, and sometimes you're dished out too much and you can't. And so he was suspended a couple of times with the Miami Heat. He got traded. I think it'll be an interesting dynamic for him on the Golden State Warriors team. But I think that what he needed was a change of scenery, and I think he'll do good.
All right. I'm going to talk about Jimmy Butler later as my parting shot. And I will have two of them tonight because I have a lot of energy and I have a lot to say about a couple people. But the one thing I will tell you is the Miami Heat acquired a solid player in Andrew Wiggins. You can build around this guy all day long. Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley like those kinds of players. Andrew Wiggins was an important part of what they did with Golden State's last championship. Don't sleep on Andrew Wiggins. This guy is a good player. And I'll tell you one thing, I think Spoelstra is going to enjoy coaching Andrew Wiggins. With that said, let's keep the basketball narrative rolling. The Toronto Raptors star Brandon Ingram has agreed to a 3-year, $120 million contract extension with the franchise, including a player option for 27 and 28. Now, with all due respect, okay, since December 7th, he's had an ankle injury. I'm not sure when he's going to debut, but I'm looking this at a long-term move. Eddie Prather, glad to have you on, Jimmy. Butler is happy camper for the short term, without a doubt. Put it up. Couldn't agree more. Eddie Prather falls into the GMT category called Great Minds Think Alike. Keep them going, Eddie. I like the momentum that will start building as the chat goes on. Again, the Raptors, Brandon Ingram, JB. Here's the thing I can tell you right now. With Brandon Ingram, if anybody's ever been to Toronto and has seen a sporting event there, those are good fans up there. He's the type of guy that when he gets on the court and he plays well, Canada will love Brandon Ingram. All right, JB, take it from there.
So, yeah, Brandon Ingram's a solid player. He's not a superstar. It's a long-term deal. He'll play valuable minutes once he's healthy. I don't think there's anything wrong with what they did signing him long term. They went out and got him. They obviously like something about him. It fits their franchise's needs. So I think it's a good move. I have no issues with it.
Pensman?
Like Eddie said there in the chat, Ingram plays hard. He was good at Laker. Kyle Lowry, he came from playing from Toronto to Philly, and he said the fans up there is crazy. I'm going to miss the crowd. So what you said there, but Ingram, he's going to be like Gary Payton. He's going to fit in just fine there.
Hey, by the way, Eddie, I don't know if you subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. I know you're with a Pensman, but if you would kindly do so, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel so you can see all the shows. Pensman is heavily involved with our programming here as well. So keep up the good work in the chat room, Eddie. We're going to give you all the time you want on here tonight, but please sub to our channel as well. Candy, some thoughts about the brand man.
He's young. I mean, he's 27 years old. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to return this year yet or not, but they just signed him, and he's going to work, and he's going to work hard to get back at a high level. So I think they did good. Excited to see what he has to do.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Appreciate the fact that you have subscribed. Much appreciated. I like the move for Toronto. I really, really do. Again, don't worry about a month or two. I look at trades. Al Campanis and the Dodgers back in the 1981 baseball winter meetings. Yes, I do go back a little way for some of you that weren't born or just toddlers back then. But Al Campanis and Tommy Lasorda, Al Campanis played an active role as a general manager with the Dodgers back in 1981. And he once told me the way you evaluate a trade is short-term, long-term, and mid-term. And this is one of those situations that I think falls into what Toronto has done. I applaud the move, and more importantly, you do pretty well up in Toronto, and the people in Canada are going to love them. Back in my other country, Canada, yes! Of course, for all you people that realize that Windsor is right across the border from Detroit, so I can't tell you how many times I enjoyed going across the border doing all kinds of wall-to-wall things out in Windsor, but that's okay. I love my fans out in Windsor. That's definitely padded by my presence with my hockey buddy there. Super Bowl 59. Let's talk about some numbers. How many people watched them? Well, 127.7 million viewers did. The most watched Super Fox halftime show, 133.5 million. Kendrick Lamar did pretty good. All he did was eclipse the previous record by Michael Jackson, 133.4 million. JB Ellis, where did you watch this halftime show? Were you in New Orleans? Or were you back at home with your beautiful wife, Debbie?
I was home. I got home Sunday morning. I didn't watch the halftime show. I had to take care of some stuff. I heard it was actually very entertaining. There was a message for those that watched it, which I saw afterwards. I'm not going to get into the message. You can see it online. I thought it was pretty powerful though, reading about it, but I had a lot of work to take care of. We're into sports, not so much entertainment. One day we'll get into entertainment, but there was other things that I get taken care of. But I heard it was actually, like I said, a very powerful performance.
Back to the chat room. What's going on, Joshua Dory? You're going on. Eddie Fraser, keep up the good NBA stuff, man, because the NBA is going to be a part of what we do here. I'll be bringing on another guy probably next week. I'll get into more details there. The Dallas Mavericks, one team looking horrible at the trade deadline. Yeah, get rid of Luka Doncic, and you trade him for an injury-prone Anthony Davis. What's going to happen? You're not going to look very good. And, of course, now Joshua Dory says, I watched it 6 times. My junior is obsessed with it. Well, that's good to know. Of course, now he's covering 4 nations. Well, there's your little hockey reference. More of that tomorrow on the hockey show with myself, George Eichhorn, and Rod Peterson. All right, but back to you, Pensman. Where were you watching it? Did you like it?
Well, not to make enemies, but I did watch it, and I did not like it at all. Like, I want to know what the singer is singing. He was all, like, real close to the microphone, and he was just all over the place. The dancers, they were over there shaking their heads like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, whatever the message is, I hope you guys got it, but I just didn't care for it. But I'm glad people did, but I didn't care for it.
All right, Candy, you know where we were.
I do. We were in Biloxi at a casino, but we actually did watch it. We were in the sports bar of the casino, so for part of it at least. The one thing I'm going to say is no matter who the NFL gets to do the Super Bowl halftime, there's going to be somebody that doesn't like it. There's going to be some people that like it. I don't know of any one artist that everybody loves, that everybody would love to see. Because people, that's why there's different music genres, because some people like country, some people like rock, some people like pop, some people like rap. I mean, so you're not always going to get everybody to buy in and love the halftime show. Either you liked it or you didn't. Either you like the dancing, you don't like the dancing. You're always going to be, there's somebody that's not going to enjoy it, or some people that are going to love it. But the NFL changes it up. Typically, every couple of years, you have different genres, and they do a great job marketing themselves and their brand. So, Joshua, you're not a huge NFL football fan, so that's why you're saying the halftime show was the best part of the game. And yes, the game itself was not that great of a game. Let's face it. We expected probably a little bit more out of Kansas City than what they showed, but Philadelphia's defense came to play. So,
yeah, as far as the halftime show is concerned, Candy and I are at the FanDuel Sports Bar. We're waiting about an hour to get our table. So I was kind of watching, messing around with the casino, looking at all that. I didn't really hear it. I don't pay much attention. You know, I like to put a halftime show. When I was covering the games, I enjoyed the 30 to 35-minute break and went back in the other room talking with my colleagues. Oh, boy, that was an awful lot of fun. Networking with the biggest people in all of football. 30, 35-minute break, no problem. I can't tell you how many Diet Coke Pepsis I had during that 30 minutes because of what would ensue in the second half, all the interviews I'd have at the game. As far as the halftime show, I use it as like a little bit of a break for me just to kind of just chill out. You didn't have to have a break in Biloxi. We stayed at the Imperial, the IP Casino and Resort out in Biloxi, Mississippi. We appreciate those people hosting us there. Candy got a rewards card. I didn't do too bad at the slot. Got a few souvenirs there. And the food was pretty good. So, you know, it's a good place to hang out. And we ended up staying Biloxi on the front and the back end of the trip. And that was an awful lot of fun. Now, Eddie Fraser, I love the game. I love seeing KC get beat down. Yeah, they definitely took it on the chin. Yeah, we know Joshua Door, like Candy said, it's a boring game. But if you got in the halftime show, all you did was contribute to Fox's rating. And they thank you very much for doing so. And, of course, Tom Petty, halftime show was the last Super Bowl halftime show I enjoyed. Well, okay. It's okay. I'm glad Eddie's going back into the archives to do it. So I don't mind the halftime shows. I have different reasons for liking them or doing things and all that. But I don't have to have a different reason to know that Candy Evelyn's going to give us a station break. Go ahead,
Candy. The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company sponsoring tonight. Scott, our host, wrote a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It talks about his 40 plus years in the business. And it probably, I think, if you get it, it talks about his other Super Bowls that he was at and a lot of the people that he's interviewed. So check out his book. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of all kinds of other great content. If you see the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, it means you haven't subscribed. Hit it, like us, share us. You will be seeing, we will start posting a lot of the interviews that we did at the Super Bowl. So a lot of great content coming forth. So watch for it. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. And if you want to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you have any show ideas or want to be a guest, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
All right, I'll say one thing about Super Bowl 59. There will be a separate chapter in that book for it and summarizing a lot of what I ended up going as well. I do want to promote Sideline Sports website as well. I know that's in the ticker. I'm going to do that right now. Candy built the website from scratch. JB Ellis does a really nice job making sure his writers do well. And one of the guys who I really enjoy reading his articles, and I'm just saying this from a journalistic perspective, and I want to preface exactly that, a journalistic perspective, is a guy by the name of James Tatum. I'll tell you one thing about this guy. He is an excellent writer. if you get the Sideline Sports website, you have to read this kid. I don't know him that well. I'm not going to talk about him personally because I'm a journalist and a broadcaster. And I believe that you have to be very objective when you look at somebody's work. And this kid here did an outstanding job with his articles. More importantly, I also saw his presence covering the Philadelphia Eagles press conference. And if you want to talk about a tenacious young writer, James Tatum is the guy that you look at for the Sideline Sports website. That's all I'll say about it. But that said, JB Ellis is going to talk about his favorite interviews during Super Bowl week. Go ahead, JB. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so we had some really good interviews. We interviewed Michael Brockers for a second time, former defensive end. He's always a great guy. He's got some businesses going in Houston and has the Brockcast, which is his podcast. We got Cam Hayward, sure, first ballot Hall of Famer from the Steelers. Killebrew as well from the Steelers. So those were two great current players that we had. And it was interesting talking to Cam about the union side of football because he's one of the player delegates for the Steelers. So it was interesting to hear what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish as far as the players union. Surprise guest, Kurt Schilling, guy I disliked before I interviewed him. Heard lots of stories about who he was and what he was about. He's actually really cool. Great to speak to. I mean, he did beat my Yankees in two different huge series, 2001 in Arizona and 2004 with the Red Sox. And he had the 2004 ring on from the World Series, which after they beat the Yankees, they went on to win. And he rubbed it on my arm, being a little smart, playing around. But it was all a jest. I mean, he was a great guy. Then we had a couple of college kids. We had a kid from South Carolina who won an award, and one of the starting shooting guards from LSU on the show, which was really fun. Thurman Thomas, Hall of Famer, running back from the Buffalo Bills. And then we just connected with a whole bunch of people that we see once a year. And it'd be nice to see him more, but unfortunately it doesn't work out that way. We're all in different parts of the country. But it's a very small community once you get into Radio Row. Most people know each other or see each other every year at these things. This is our fourth. And I can tell you the same group of people you see almost every year. We were interviewed on an ESPN affiliate, Fox TV affiliate, and the Mark Moses show in DC, as well as Mexican TV. Had a lot of fun doing interviews and being interviewed about the game, which is something that we hadn't done before. So that was a lot of fun. And you'll see those on the website. I sent Candy the first one already. It's just trying to branch out and do other things to broaden our coverage of the game.
And Michael Brocker is the guy I'll be targeting pretty soon to come on our show. He was nice enough to take a photo with us, and we saw him while you're doing your show with them. The guy that I'm going to get on here, and for good obvious reason, is Bernie Kosar. Bernie is dealing with Parkinson's disease as well as Alzheimer's. For those of you that don't know, I'm dealing currently with the challenge of Alzheimer's disease. I have my good days and bad days. Bernie and I sat and talked about it, opened up about it. So if you ever need any advice, that'd be great. But and he's agreed to come on the show. We'll arrange a time. I enjoyed myself going on Mike Brodsky's show, being able to go out there and promote lessons from the microphone. And there's another young lady by the name of Deb Whitcast, who I appeared on the Blonde Blitz show, and she's going to be a part on my show. And of course, with Rod Peterson, I went on Canada Television, giving them 2 reports on Tuesday and on Friday. Joe, I hate to say this, bro. I really do. You think I give a darn about any sympathy that you got when Kurt Schilling beat you when you was at the Diamondbacks? No darn way. And I'll tell you why. I lived in Arizona. I hope that they would. It was us against the world. I understand 9/11. Let's forget about that business. I was an Arizona resident, Mr. Ellis. So no sympathy for you there. Other than that, the Boston Yankees, that's totally on you. I don't care about that at all. But it's going to be able to get to promote the book. But one thing, I enjoyed a lot of stuff, and this was really your segment. I just wanted to incorporate a couple little odds and ends with it. But I enjoyed going to the NFLPA meeting, and I also enjoyed my time with the Fox Sports crew out there. That'll be talked about at a later date. But those are some of the other activities that we were involved in addition to the party you had Lee Steinberg on Saturday. We mixed it up. We had a really, nice run, and Candy Evely and I will be working on releasing these videos as time goes on. Joe, thank you very much for your recollection of Super Bowl 59. I want to make sure you had an opportunity to get it in there.
Real
But,
quick
go ahead.
before you go on, thinking about it, the NFL does such a great job that week promoting football, all of their stars, current and Hall of Famers, and people from all over the world, celebrities, different sports, business people, they all come for this week. Why has no other sport tried to do this or replicate it somehow? It can be done. I just don't understand, and then you wonder why the NFL is the most popular sport in America.
Well, I'll give you a phrase that I use. Sorry, Candy, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, fresh out here.
I was gonna say in the other sports, they don't do it all in one location. It's a series. Like the Super Bowl is one game and it's in one spot. Whereas the World Series, they go back and forth. The NHL, they go back and forth. So it's not in one location. I guess if they picked one location for all 7 games, then they could do more things like this. The only thing I could think of that would rival it is they could do it for wherever they're putting their All-Star game. But let's face it, All-Star games for all the other sports have gone downhill. Not like look at the NBA. Who watches it? Because it's 200 points to 212 as opposed to having some defense. Even baseball, we will watch a little bit, but they only get such a short break too. They only get 2 days or 3 days.
If you opened it up to a week, right, and then you had the top stars walking through, if you had Mike Trout going, all these different booths, right. NBC Sports, Sirius, and everything, and former players like Bonds or whoever you want to Mattingly going through, you would draw people that are really interested in the game, and it would be a great experience and a great way to market the games. Same thing with hockey, same thing with basketball.
The one thing also that I will say, sorry, Scott, but for those of us that this was my first Super Bowl, and I'll be honest with you, I hardly recognize the players when they're out of uniform. I'm used to seeing their uniform with their name on the back. So for me to recognize who that was walking by was very difficult, I'll say. I mean, some of them are obvious.
Yeah.
Football's
Dan more difficult because they wear a helmet, so you don't see their faces often. Other sports are not as hard, but it's still, All
right. Here's where you guys are both missing it on this one. You could always go, unless it's in Canada, to the first 2 games of a series because you're guaranteed those and be able to turn it into a 2-day event there if you're talking about a Stanley Cup final or an NBA final because you're guaranteed 2. 5, 6, and 7 are, if necessary, is what you could do. Now, with that said, the reason why they don't, Joe, Candy, I once dated a Puerto Rican who the only word I knew was El Stupido, okay? And that's usually what I got called when I said something I didn't know in that language and don't really frankly care because she's history anyways. And I got the Cadillac here and I dumped the Yugo. So take it for whatever it's worth. As far as I'm going with manufacturers, but really, hockey, the NBA, of course, and baseball, All-Star game. I think the baseball All-Star game of those is really the best of the group. I really do. And you could do something with baseball. Hockey and basketball, I say go game 1 and 2 in their respective location, unless you're dealing with a border situation in Canada, and you can turn it into a 2-day event. But nothing compares to the NFL. All you have to do is look at the numbers about popularity. My issues with the NBA and the NHL, truthfully, is they're dumb enough they don't even put us on the media distribution list, and then you'll wonder why their sports are so cotton picking, losing interest popularity. That's ridiculous. Right, Joe? Didn't you have a situation in the NHL you couldn't get on their media distribution list?
Still can't. I have no idea why.
I can't either. When I was heavily working with the Florida Panthers, and you know what? That's where I have more issues with those leagues. The NFL, they open it up to everybody. The numbers are skyrocketing. Why do you think I have a baseball show? Why do you think I have a football show? Because I have more access to those sports, whether it's a pro or college level. Another point I should also mention is I made some good United Football League contacts. that'll be part of the Inside the Pigskin programming during the off season as well. So I have designated shows, people, okay, for baseball and football. Hockey ends up, we work on Thursday, and Wednesday we sprinkle in some basketball, and I'm trying to spice up the basketball side. So a little bit of variety here. But Joe, you're on point with a lot of what you just talked about. You really are. NFL simply gets it right. I can tell you lots of people that went in and didn't go to the game and cleaned up and hit home runs on Monday through Saturday. And I'll tell you the one thing before we move on to our next Super Bowl topic is this. The best advice I took on that trip is coming from Mr. Ellis. What do I mean by that? He says, Scott, pick up your credential on Monday. Better off doing it that way. Awesome, baby, as Dick Vitale would say. Awesome, baby, as Dick Vitale would say. At least I know I have another hashtag, okay, with Dick Vitale. But what did Candy and I do on Sunday? Oh, not a bad day. Pat O'Brien, Bourbon Street, French Quarter, not bad. Still wasn't good enough on Monday. Caesar Superdome. That's why I took it all these people. Bourbon Street, French Quarter, Pat O'Brien, Superdome. Jackson Square, thank you. You got some good pictures too, by the way. I saw Ellis's pictures at night. We were ahead of you on that, Mr. Ellis. We did it on Sunday night. And then I took her on Sunday, so she got her daytime pictures and found a very neatly convenient place to park. Great stuff. Awesome. New Orleans, great city. I'm glad I got her there. All right, next segment. Before the Super Bowl, NFL inks a deal with Pat Riley for usage of 3 feet ahead of Super Bowl 59. What we're going to do is I had an opportunity to talk to Andy Reid, the Chiefs coach, and he gave me his thoughts about Pat Riley and the 3-peat. Take a listen. Watch.
Hi, Coach. I know that you're keeping things in perspective in terms of how the game is going to go, but just hypothetically, we all know that Pat Riley coined the phrase 3-peat. Can you visualize the thought of you being mentioned in the same sentence as an iconic coach figure like Pat Riley, because this guy has won at all levels, and he's been able to coach a lot of different players from a lot of different facets.
Yeah, no, he's a great one. And that was a great little nugget he threw out there. It was saying, but that's a different sport. You know, that's the direction he went with it. And, that's not the only thing that made it great. That was a great prediction there and challenge. I think you guys have taken care of all that for me. I don't have to say much. So, then get ready to play the game.
Thank you.
There you go. Some thoughts, Joe Ellis, about the interview I had with Andy Reid. Mutual respect for Pat Riley, isn't it?
Yeah, I love Coach Reid. I mean, he gives great answers. It was a good question. I curious, his thoughts on it. He played it close to the vest. Didn't want to give away too much. I'm sure he wanted to win. Everybody plays to win. But gave a very close to the vest answer. But I thought it was good, with the respect for Riley and everything.
I do want to praise the Kansas City Chiefs PR guy. I'll reach out to him probably the next week or two to try to get on their media distribution list. Every time I needed to ask Coach Reid a question, he was right there and gave me an opportunity. Never missed one opportunity. What happens is you'll start to get the attention of PR guys. If they think you're hitting the target with a good question, they're going to remember. And over the course of a 3-day period, this guy here from Kansas City was absolutely fantastic. I proceeded to have 2 more opportunities with Andy Reid, and I got another one with Patrick Mahomes, which will be released at a later time. So this gives you a little bit of a opportunity to go out there and get a feel. All right, Penza, what are your thoughts about Coach Reid talking about Pat Riley? How you doing, J.D. Wyatt?
I like Andy Reid. I respected him. I still do. He's just with the wrong team. I'd love to have him in Pittsburgh, but that's not going to happen. I just wish that he did good. When his team didn't perform, that's not on Andy Reid. It's the players that did. He probably had a good game plan, but Eagles defense, they just ate and came and eat Mahomes up, and the defensive line was unstoppable.
Candy, you were there. You heard it.
I did. I have a lot of respect for Coach Reid. He actually came from the Mike Holmgren Green Bay Packers tree. in that press conference, he actually gave one of the questions was about Mike Holmgren. So when we do put the whole interview up, you'll have to go check it out. But he gave a lot of credit to Coach Holmgren, and I like coaches that give credit where credit's due. And he was very good in his answer. You know, a lot of people had asked him about three-peat, and he didn't want any part of talking about a three-peat. He just wanted to be talking about this game because that's what it was about. That's why they were there, was to play this game. Of course, they didn't have the outcome that they wanted, but I loved that he answered every question. And if he couldn't or didn't want to answer, and not like he didn't want to answer it, but answer it in a way where he was maybe skirting around something if he didn't want to talk about a specific topic. And I get that. Let's face it. At least he was quick on his feet to think of what he wanted to say. But I thought he gave some really good answers to some of the questions. So once that video goes up, I urge everybody to go out and watch the clips in the entirety.
When I asked him that question, and I really thought things very through, anybody could have asked him a three-peat question. Anybody got it all week. I felt my mind, let's connect the dots here. Pat Riley and Andy Reid, and that's what changed that question and made a lot of people think about that question. In fact, I ran across a guy who I'm actually going to be reaching any day now within the next week named Jeff Darlington. When I asked him what he thought about, he said that was pretty good because you were able to connect two championship caliber coaches together in order to get the three-peat answer. I've never been good at math, but 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, I don't need a calculator for that. Okay, but Pat Riley plus Andy Reid equals 2 champions. Don't expect me to go and pass the math test with it. I was never good at story problems and don't think I ever would. If I gave you some math stories that would drive you nuts, my father-in-law in heaven, Fred Emling, God rest his peace, one of the greatest people I ever met, Candy's dad. Of course, it didn't hurt that his dad had a sense of humor that turned him into kettle corn. Of course, that'll be another day for another time. But I know she's probably crying, knowing how did all of a sudden my dad come in here? I'm talking math, people. I'm bad at it. He would have flunked me. But you know what I told him? You got to flunk me in math. I have your daughter. She can't do it. So he had to be nice to me. Oh, well, whatever. He didn't have to, but he was. But still, seriously, when you think at the whole thing, Andy Reid, when you connect the dots, is a championship caliber coach. He's going to stay as long as he wants. And if he stays active enough, if anybody's going to break Don Shula's record, it'll be Andy Reid easily. You keep winning 10, 15 games a year. How can he not do it in 2 or 3 years? Bill Belichick didn't care about it. He decided to go to North Carolina. Could have done it. But Andy Reid's in a much better situation where he's revered out in Kansas City. And boy, what a great place for barbecue. A few other things I want to get to. Rest in peace, Virginia McCaskey. Anybody on the panel have any thoughts? I know the NFL did when they paid tribute to her before the game on Super Bowl 59. Joe, you're in that neck of the woods in Chicago. What are they saying about Miss McCaskey?
Well, I wasn't here when most of it happened, so I didn't hear much about it. I know she was the daughter of George Halas, who was the original owner of the Bears. I think Bears fans are frustrated, but, as fans do, they take it out of the owner sometimes. The owner doesn't do much more than hire the GM unless they're George Steinbrenner. She seemed to stay out of the football business. The family itself was involved in a lot of charitable things. And, I found out when we were in New Orleans that they actually helped create the Ronald McDonald House in Chicago, which is actually pretty cool. I had no idea about that. It was actually started in Philadelphia. Marnie Schneider's grandfather created it there. That was the first one, and then Chicago was the second one.
Okay. Well, Cyber Rusky, what's going on? We're going on. Glad you joined us. Hendon, talk about Miss McCaskey.
I don't know who you're talking about, but
wow, okay.
It's a shame that it passed away, but
don't worry about it.
I do want to say one thing though, that there was a NFL player that just passed away today. It's Chrisman. So rest in peace. He was a former Ohio State player and a former linebacker for the 49ers. Rest in peace. do remember him, but McCaskey, I'm not sure who you're talking about there.
Well, Virginia McCaskey is the daughter of Joe Preface of the late George Hallis, and we all know how iconic. Don't worry about it, Candy. What are your thoughts about Virginia, about Miss McCaskey? I know you've probably done a little research on her a little bit, so give us an overview of Miss McCaskey.
So she took over as owner of the Chicago Bears. She was well liked. She was there for how many years? Like they have owned that team. McCaskey. McCaskey. I'm just trying to get her up again here. But you know, Chicago has obviously there's been a couple of years here where they haven't been the best, but she was born January 5th, 1923 in Chicago. She is the daughter of NFL founder George Hallis. She was the principal owner for the Chicago Bears for 42 years, from 1983 until her death at 2025 at the age of 102. She's been closely involved with the Bears since the team's inception and even attended the first ever indoor NFL game and the 1932 NFL championship as a child. You know, when someone that has been such an integral part of a team, the Bears won the Super Bowl in 1986 under her leadership.
85, wasn't it?
86.
Okay. Oh, that's the 85 team. Okay.
Yeah.
The 85 team, but won it in
86. Yeah.
Yes.
I was a student at USF at the time. Good stuff.
She's been on the board of directors there. She empowered the vote to vote the shares of her children and grandchildren as well as her own. It's sad to see someone like that pass away. I only hope that they can find somebody to replace her that did such a good job. I mean, you saw her; she was very visible as an owner. At least those of us that are NFC people. But rest in peace to everybody that knew her or was associated with Bears.
All right, for those of you in the Detroit audience as well as female listeners and watchers, Martha Firestone Ford took over for the late William Clay Ford. Culture change there. Now Sheila Hamp Ford has taken over for her mother. Lions have done a good job, but Martha Firestone Ford really did a good job helping set the table for Sheila Hamp Ford as well. So, yeah, rest in peace, Miss McCaskey. All right, tonight's our parting shots. I've got two of them. Candy, you want to add something before we go to parting shots?
I do want to say she was one of 10 female NFL owners as of in the year 2022. So Sheila Ford Hamp from the Lions, Amy Adams Strunk from the Tennessee Titans, Kim Pegula from Buffalo Bills, Carol Davis, Las Vegas Raiders, Denise DiBartolo York,
Right.
San Francisco 49ers, Gail Benson, New Orleans Saints, Janice McNair, Houston Texans, Jody Allen, Seattle Seahawks, and Dee Haslam from Cleveland Browns. So 1 of 10 female owners.
Pretty impressive, too. Good list. I'm glad you're able to compile that. All right, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to say my parting shots because if anybody needs hearing aids or earplugs, because I'm going to be that loud, you'll have time to prepare for them. So, Penman, do you have any parting shots at all?
Yeah, I got one.
All right.
Do it now. The Kansas City Chiefs said that the refs were unfair. To me, I think if you guys did watch the Super Bowl and you guys watch closely, I thought the referees were fair for both teams. The Chiefs wanted to be one-sided, but they said that it was unfair and they didn't take some touchy calls. I thought it was fair game. So, Chiefs, you lost fair and square. Deal with it. There's always September.
Okay, Joe? Parting shots.
So, the Dallas Mavericks, the laughing stock of the NBA, have the best player in the NBA, and they trade him to the Lakers for a guy who can't stay healthy for more than 2 weeks at a time, gets the most ridiculous injuries. The fans, visibly upset, go on a tirade saying, "Fire Nico." And instead of just letting the fans have their say and letting it be, they're throwing fans out of the stadium. They're revoking season tickets. You know, I'd be upset too if I was a Dallas Maverick fan. I'd ask for someone to be fired if you traded the best basketball talent in the world for a guy who can't stay on the court. Yes, when Anthony Davis is healthy, he could be that guy. He's pretty close to Luka when he's healthy, but the problem is he's never healthy. If you're trying to tank the team and move it or do whatever, you did a great job at setting that going forward. Horrible job by ownership. Horrible job by the GM. I'm with the fans that say fire Nico. It's an absolute disgrace in Dallas. Disgusting. And, fans pay their money. As long as they're not cursing anybody out, who cares? They say you should be fired. Get over it.
Yeah, Mark Cuban tried to talk him out of that trade, but none of that came to fruition. Mark obviously did a good job bringing this guy in. We'll see where the Mavericks go. Candy, some parting shots.
So I have two.
Okay.
And unbelievably, they are not football related. My first one, kudos to Hubie Brown. He retired this last weekend. He received tributes from across the NBA community as the former coach and longtime broadcaster headed into retirement after spending more than half a century in pro basketball. I read one stat today that he has either coached or broadcast 80% of all players that have played in the NBA. Think about that. 80% of all the players he's either coached or called a game for. The 91-year-old Brown called his final game Sunday as the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Philadelphia 76ers. He was awarded the game ball after the final horn. He thanked everybody. He thought it was very fitting that he called his last game in Milwaukee because he actually started his first NBA coaching job was as an assistant with the Bucks on Larry Costello's staff, a 2-season stint that began in 1972. He had coached. He spent 35 years as a national TV and radio analyst covering 18 NBA finals. He had been inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2005. I've seen part of the tributes. He called his very first NBA broadcast in 1981. What a career. That's the first of my parting shots. The second of my parting shots, this past week, there was a fairly big trade for any of you that are Bucks fans. Chris Middleton, who has spent 12 seasons with the Bucks, was traded. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chris Middleton as the man and what he did in Milwaukee. Most athletes do charity work. Few make it their number one priority, as Chris Middleton did during his 12 seasons in Milwaukee. Every few months, Middleton would rent out Marcus Theaters so kids from Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Metro Milwaukee could see the latest movies for free. He regularly hosted basketball clinics at the Fiserv Forum and the Bucks practice facility for kids who couldn't afford summer camps. Every year, he celebrated the 12 days of Christmas, where he'd show up and give back to a different charity every day. Middleton was also a big supporter of the Hunger Task Force and would regularly spend a few hours packing food boxes. He hosted events with the Coalition for Children, Youth, and Families, an organization that helps with foster care and adoption. He also worked with the Sojourner Family Peace Center and gifted single moms a spa day during the holiday season. In a world where you're not sure who cares, to have somebody show how much they really care, and then this bonus to connect with a professional athlete who is approachable, the head of Milwaukee's Hunger Task Force said, that's unforgettable. So Chris Middleton will be missed not only on the court, but also off the court in Milwaukee.
All right, let me go to a comment Eddie Prather made. I want to address it. Kurt Schilling should be in the MLB Hall of Fame top 3 playoff pitcher. Here's what I'm going to say about that. Joe interviewed him, and Joe obviously knew it came. But here's what I'm going to say about Kurt Schilling. You want to talk about a complete idiot? I'll tell you, he is one. Because one thing you don't do, and Barry Bonds found this out the hard way, is you don't tell the baseball writers not to vote for you because you should have gotten in there earlier or whatever. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Kurt, I know you would have made it in this year's class if you kept your mouth shut. The problem with you is you kept your mouth open and you got too controversial and bit the hand that feeds you. I know you're a Hall of Fame pitcher. A lot of times the criteria for voting in the Hall of Fame is based on postseason results. Nobody's going to question that you went out there and along with Randy Johnson, allow the Diamondbacks to win their first championship ever. Number one, I was there, watched it. They were unbelievable. And number two, they helped break the curse of the Bambino along with the Red Sox, and they were able to win a couple titles there. He couldn't keep his big mouth shut. Don't vote for me next year if he didn't vote for me or whatever he did. That was outright stupid. He should be in there, but you know what? When you have a big mouth like that, we'll see if the veterans cut him a little more slack. I'm not doing it. Only Joe knows what he talked about in the interview. I'm not going to question what he mentioned. Joe can do that on whatever platform he wants if he talks baseball. I just wanted to make sure that a compliment was brought out there, and Joe indicated that he brought up Schilling. That's my perspective on Schilling. I got a couple parting shots. One, we'll go back to what Pensman said earlier about where Jimmy Butler was shipped to. Jimmy Butler agrees to a 2-year, $221 million deal with the Warriors for 26 and 27. Guess what? It won't be long, okay, before this guy burns his bridges there. So 2 years is good enough. Yeah, Eddie, you're right. The Hall of Fame shouldn't be about personalities, but you don't go out there and tell people not to vote for you because they won't. And these writers are certainly one of those types of people that'll hold a grudge. Mark my word. But I agree with you. It shouldn't be about personalities. But the Baseball Hall of Fame is an interesting bird because you don't have the all-time hit king in there and the all-time home run king in there for different reasons. I'm with you all the way, personalities and so forth. But back to Butler. Won't be long before he burns his bridges in Golden State. That's why a 2-year deal was good enough. I think Golden State has a limited window anyway. So good riddance, Jimmy Butler. Let's see if you burn your bridges in the Bay Area like you have all the other stops you have. Oh, but here's my favorite one of the group. Cam Newton. The quote, my issue was when I was the first pick, I went into a locker room of losers, just honest. Steve Smith's response was, there was a lot of 2 and 14 in the mentality of those guys. You know what, Cam? Here's the problem with you, pal. You ended up taking your resume into owner Jerry Richardson's office and let him know what you can do. For those of you that understand Cam Newton, he started his career at the University of Florida, moved on to the University of Auburn. Gene Chizik did a really good job there. Yes, you know what, Andy Fraser? Put that one up there, Candy. I like Scam Newton. I should hashtag it Scam Newton because that's what I feel like he is here. So you're going to sit here and complain about Matthew Stafford inherited an 0-16 situation. He didn't say a word about it. Of course, he got paid $40 million guaranteed to go there, being the top pick. And then the following year, Sam Bradford got like over $55 million to be the number one pick in the draft later on after that. And those two signings led to a rookie wage scale. That's another day for another topic. But Cam, you shouldn't be complaining about nothing. Bill Belichick gave you a chance in New England to revive your career, and you couldn't even do it under him. So Cam, before you start going out there and talk about a 2 and 14 team, could be worse. Matthew Stafford inherited an 0-16 team and ultimately got into the playoffs. And the Lions situation was a complete mess because you had Matt Millen going out there and wrecking things. And I'm not going to get into the rest of that because that's another time for another thing. So, yes, Scam Newton, probably Eddie Prather described what I think about him. Jimmy, I burn bridges Butler. So if anybody's looking for a nickname, you've got one there. And that's where I think with these two personalities, I can't stand either of them. That's why every now and then I let my panelists, if they choose to do so, come up with at least one parting shot. If they have two, I'll let them go. This is a sports exchange. Our goal is to talk about everything out there. I feel we've done a pretty sufficient job tonight. I do want to make mention what we have lined up for the rest of the week. Tomorrow on the Sports Exchange, we'll be talking hockey with myself, Rod Peterson, and George Eichhorn. That's our hockey edition of the Sports Exchange. Plus, I'll have a little stuff out there about the Michigan Wolverines and Dusty May, who's doing a sensational job out in Ann Arbor. Candy, give everybody an overview of what types of topics you're going to talk about on Fire Up, just so you know. Fire Up will have, you don't have to say types. You can talk about leagues, okay? Because we know that you do everything spontaneously, and there's nobody better at it than you anyways. But the personalities on that show, I'll be on there. George Eichhorn, Ralph Williams, and Penguin will be on there. We'll see who else shows up.
So we'll probably delve a little bit into the Super Bowl. We'll probably talk a little bit at college basketball, since it is now, March Madness is roughly a little over a month away, and there have been some movements in the realm of things. We might even delve into a little bit of baseball, since spring training, a lot of the teams, pitchers and catchers for most teams, have started their spring training between yesterday and today. So just never know what you're going to catch. So check us out tomorrow night, approximately 9:10.
As I reiterated at the top of the show, programming note, the External Bum Show will be rebranded to Sports Wrap. I'll be hosting it along with Ralph Williams, and I'll be replacing the External Bum on Saturdays, 9 to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be on YouTube, RW Productions, myself and Ralph Williams. Hope to have a lot of different people on there to rebrand the show. We want to talk about positivity, and we want to talk about journalistic, strong topics. That's what my strive to build that show with Ralph. Ralph is working his way through our system. He comes on Fire Up a lot. It's an opportunity to reward him, to try to help rebrand the show that he produces, and then he has an opportunity to promote on Thursday night. Love everything what we're doing. Joe Ellis, what I'm going to do is let you lead off, let everybody know how they get a hold of you. I also want you to talk about some of your top shows that you can promote while you have the opportunity to do so. All right, Mr. Ellis? Go ahead.
Definitely so. Sideline Sports is the main show, Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on all the social medias. KSRN, the hottest internet radio station in the country. WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta, as well as Believe Podcast Network. Go to sidelinesportsnet.com. All the writings there. You'll see all the Super Bowl coverage there. Probably, one of the best websites on the web. If you haven't gone there yet, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Well, the only thing you're waiting for is the one to your right. Put the thing together from scratch. Candy Ebling and George Eichhorn and I write on it. So do you. You got to forget that?
No.
I know you wouldn't. That's why I reminded you so you wouldn't forget. Well, get it out there. Eddie Fraser, look at the mess Jaden Daniels inherited in DC. Tell you what, watch out for Commanders next year. This is a team to be reckoned with. But yeah, Candy's done a number of ways. She builds websites from the ground up. Sideline Sports, great entity there. We work with them on a lot of different numerous projects. Sometimes we allow our announcers to go over there and they bring some of their people over here. It's an opportunity to, when you're able to give more exposure to another network and work together. I can remember many years ago when I worked with the Tampa Tribune, how we were also part of Media General, and when we were part of Media General, we also had NBC 8 out there in Tampa. We were part of the same company, and one of my favorite personalities that I worked with and got to spend time with a guy by the name of Tom Corrin, who's a retired sportscaster out in Tampa. We worked for the same company, but really came in contact later on in recent years as I brought him on one of my shows. Just want to get that out there when I connect the dots to Sideline Sports, South Florida Tribune. Great stuff, Mr. Ellis. Enjoyed seeing you out at Super Bowl 59. But you and I are far from through, right? All you have to do is contact me every morning. Haven't seen you on Twitter. You're okay. If you're not on Twitter, something's up. And that's why this guy's a brother from another mother. And even though he's tired, he's certainly enough to give me a smile somehow with that goatee slapped in the middle of it all because he's laughing. I knew he'd get out of you. All right. Depends on everybody how they get a hold of you.
I have my own YouTube channel, Pensman Sports. I have 740. Let's keep going to that 1,000 mark. And you can find me on X on Pensman Sports.
Candy, one last station break before I wrap it up.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, please do so. I don't know what you're waiting for. All kinds of great content. In fact, one of the things that's probably coming up down the future, there's going to be something called an NFL draft. The question is, will Cam Ward go 1 or 2? You know, if you want to see some of his interviews, they're up on our YouTube channel, so go check it out. But the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the business, all kinds of interviews, and it talks about all these different people that he's interviewed. Go check out the book. Scott's got lots of stories to tell. Go read some of them. Then there was also, we have a website ourselves, and I designed that one too. www.southfloridatribune.com. Bunch of writers, bunch of great pictures on there, all great content. Go check it out. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. If you want to be on a show or have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @TribuneSouth. If you want to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you never know what we're going to be talking about. Although we do a second sports exchange typically on Thursdays, and it talks hockey. So if you are one of those fans, go check out our channel. Back to you, Scott.
All right, couple comments from Eddie Fraser. I wouldn't take any quarterback in the draft class top 10. Eddie, let me give you a piece of advice. Like Candy and I covered the Miami Hurricanes all year. Guess what? Cam Ward is really good. He'll be a top 5 pick, I definitely believe. Reaching in quarterbacks is why teams stay a mess. Couldn't agree with you more there. A lot of them have not turned out, so I'm totally on board with that one. Little Eddie, just check out Cam Ward, and if you feel that you don't like him, then feel free to give us an update on next Wednesday's edition of the Sports Exchange. I want to thank my crew tonight, Pensman Sports, JBLS as always, and Kenny Ebley for their outstanding job. I'll be adding more and more faces as we go along with the show. Try to add new faces and continue to add more sports and do a lot of different things. I enjoyed working with Sideline Sports out at Super Bowl 59 show. It was an absolute pleasure to get to see some of your people out there, all of them. Pensman, well, keep up the good work. Candy, what else I say without you? Videographer and a whole lot more. You made a lot of those videos happen in a very strong way. So on behalf of my crew tonight, I want to thank everybody in the chat room. Eddie Prather, thank you much for your outstanding contribution in the chat room. Much appreciated. Hope you can stop by more often. But on behalf of Pensman Sports, JB Ellis, Candy Ebley, my name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. We'll see you next Wednesday night, same time, new topics, and maybe a couple more rants. I don't know if I'll get louder, but I'm certainly not going to get quieter. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Have a great week.